Merry Christmas. And this is Mike Brown, or T.M. Brown as my author name is on my stories. I want to provide an excerpt from my first novel from the Shiloh Mystery Series, Sanctuary, A Legacy of Memories. That even though the stories that I share in my Shiloh Mystery Series are into mystery and suspense and even a little thriller scenes, there's a heartwarming side of it too that I think a lot of the people have been drawn to, that reflects the traditional small town rural values that Little Shiloh represents. And this is a scene that is talking about the Christmas in Shiloh kind of atmosphere that's going on. I want to read this scene from Sanctuary, and it's a special scene to me because it reflects one of the reasons I actually wrote these stories, which is as a legacy of love to my grandkids. And this is a scene where Theo, just before Christmas, the grandkids have arrived at their new home in Shiloh. And amidst all of the turmoil and things that have been going on in the town, he takes the time to take his two sons and their 5 grandkids to see Zeb's General Store, which is a special landmark in the town of Shiloh. And there's the toys and that are in the old General Store, which is more of almost a museum than it is an actual store anymore, on the backside of his business. So this is the excerpt that comes from Sanctuary, A Legacy of Memories, and I would title this excerpt A Christmas Gift of Memories. I invited my 2 sons and the 3 oldest grandkids to join me on a special errand. When I pulled into a parking spot in front of Adam's Feed and General Hardware, 5 sets of anxious eyes surveyed the store's dated exterior and well-traveled, scarred steps leading into the store. Junior turned toward me. Do you want us to stay here while you run in? I opened my door and barked, "Everyone out. I've got some friends for you to meet." Zeb and his 2 twin sons leaned against the counter, cracking peanuts and sipping soda when we entered. They promptly brushed their hands off and greeted us. I introduced Junior and Tommy while the kids eyed the entrance to the old General Store. Junior hollered, "Y'all just stay right here where we can see you." Zeb smiled at Jim and Jay, who immediately stepped toward the kids. "We'll watch them. I think they'll enjoy what's in here." Junior and Tommy glanced at each other before Junior waved and said, "All right, but y'all behave and listen to Jay and Jim." 5 minutes later, the kids scrambled back, yelling over one another with a bottle of soda in one hand and a small bag of peanuts hoisted in the other. Please, they said, we can have these. Is it okay?" Sissy said, pointing at Jay and Jim. Zeb laughed as I glanced at Tommy and Junior. I don't think that'll spoil their dinner." Both nodded, and they each cracked open a peanut, mumbling an obligatory "thanks." Zeb chuckled. "You're most welcome, but I don't know your names yet." Sissy nervously looked up at her dad and then at Zeb's bearded smile. "I'm Sissy. I'm 8. She pointed at Tommy. "And that's my daddy." Sissy's innocent curiosity then fell upon Zeb's mostly white beard and long hair. She inched closer and whispered, "Are you Santa?" Zeb laughed and got down on one knee. "No, not today anyway." After he gave her a sly wink, he added, "My name's Zeb Adams, but you could call me Uncle Zeb." Sissy giggled as she resisted her urge to touch his bearded smile. Teddy stepped beside his sister. "I'm Teddy. Sissy's my sister." Teddy's adolescent hand disappeared into Zeb's gentle grip. Bubba set his bag and bottle on the floor, wiped his hands on the sides of his jeans, and extended his hand. Bubba's my name, he pointed to Junior. And that's my dad. Bubba then pointed to the merchandise on display. Do you own all of this? Zeb stroked his beard. Well, I reckon I do, at least until somebody buys something. Then they can say they own a little piece of my store. Bubba scratched his head. Daddy, can we buy something? I looked at Jim and Jay. Would you fellas mind helping them pick out a special Shiloh Christmas present for me? Jim and Jay motioned for the kids to follow them. They disappeared into the general store, but this time their dads followed to monitor their choices. Zeb grabbed hold of my extended hand and yanked himself off the floor while I shared the news about John and Hank. How's Harold? Zeb asked. Well, as good as one could expect. He confessed to Arnie and me about his regrets and fears, but that he knew Hank couldn't run from his mistakes. Too many lives already had been hurt. Zeb sighed. Well, I feel awful for Harold. I did the right thing, though, and we got to believe Hank'll be a heap better off because he fessed up rather than run. Zeb paused and ran his hand through his beard. I wonder what'll happen to Coach Priestley. Do you think he'll stay in Shiloh? Well, is there any chance he'll be able to get his old job back, I asked. If I remember right, the school's looking for a new coach again. Zeb's face lit up. Well, I reckon I could find out if I still have any sway left on our school board. It's worth making a couple of calls. Giggles and footsteps arrived ahead of Jim and Jay as the kids raced around the corner. Poppy, check out what we found! The three dragged me into the general store. Zeb followed with a curious stare. They pointed to the painted miniature house in the center of the Christmas Village display. The three of you want to buy the house? Why? Sissy giggled. Because it looks just like your new house, Poppy. Teddy's and Bubba's heads bobbed in agreement. Tommy and Junior handed me 2 miniature carolers and the lighted Christmas tree from the display. I became speechless and stared at the figurines as I asked, what are you going to do with these in the house? Bubba laughed. Oh, Poppy, what are you going to do with them? They're for you and Grammy. He pointed to the carolers in my hand. This one is you, and this one is Grammy. It's our special Christmas present to both of you. Junior stopped chuckling long enough to confess. Pop, it was all their idea. Zeb scratched the bottom of his chin. What do you think, boys? Isn't that 50% off sale effective today? Jim declared. Absolutely. Junior said with a broad grin. It's settled. And I want no arguments, Tommy, and I'll pay for this too. As we were leaving, Teddy tugged on my jacket. Poppy, does this mean we own a piece of Uncle Zeb's store now? I ruffled his brown hair with my fingers. Well, if Uncle Zeb said so, I reckon it's so. Well, that's the end of that particular scene, and if you really want to read more or read up what leads up to that particular scene that's referencing Hank and Harold and them, I would suggest that you find a copy of Sanctuary, A Legacy of Memories at your local bookstore, or you can go online to Amazon, or you go to my webpage at tmbrownauthor.com, and it has some convenient links for you as well. And